Skyview 21 flying over the Pennsylvania Capitol today. Governor Josh Shapiro unveiling his 2026-2027 state budget proposal to the General Assembly. And we have team coverage all evening night, hearing reactions from both sides of the aisle, breaking down some of Shapiro's biggest plans for the Commonwealth. You can see our co-anchor Joel D. Smith right here alongside Andrew Klein and Lily Sexton. So thanks for being here with us tonight at 5 o'clock. I'm Candace Scalise. Anchor Joel D. Smith, as I just mentioned, live in the field from the state capitol. He has more on the governor's budget address and the key takeaways today. Hey, Joel D.
Hey there, Candace. Hi, everybody. You know, it took until November last time. Both sides are committed to a faster process this time around. But to get things started on this big number, the Republicans and the governor, they're so far apart, it seems like a chasm as big as the Susquehanna River, and maybe just as frigid. Let's talk about this budget and what's in it. $53.2 billion. It's a 5% increase over last year. But the governor says we have the money and there's a lot to do.
Our economy is growing, and in the first 7 months of this fiscal year, we collected $417 million more in revenue than we initially estimated.
And that positive news is part of the reason the governor is looking to spend more than ever, once again counting on new revenue sources like regulating skill games and legalizing adult-use marijuana that would bring in more than $2 billion. So far, Republicans say, good luck when it comes to all that. The governor is also tackling another old issue in a new way.
Because raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour will save this Commonwealth $300 million a year on entitlement programs like Medicaid.
He wants phones banned in schools, education funding increased by another $500 million, and a new law to help kids and parents with dangerous technology.
Let's require age verification and parental consent because some kids are just too young to understand the difference between AI and a real person.
Energy, rainy day spending, and gambling revenue will be tough topics to negotiate. But if the odds of success come down to timing,
we learn that we all need to be at the table and that we all need to be at the table sooner. When we all sat together, majority and minority, we made real progress. In that spirit, I've invited the leaders of all 4 caucuses to my office tomorrow to begin this process in earnest.
How about that? Tomorrow they're meeting right away to try to get to this process and get it going. And we know Republicans will be coming with a lot to say. For that part of the story, we go to CBS 21's Andrew Klein. He was there when the Republicans were reacting to all of this, and their eyes were wide open when they were looking at these numbers. Andrew, take us through their reaction.
Yeah, Joel D., plain and simple with this one. They did not like the governor's budget proposal. They say he wants to spend too much money. They say he wants to leave behind a mess should he run for a higher office in the near future. And Republicans say that during his address, the governor was doing a lot more political talk than actually trying to make progress. They say the governor and Democrats are significantly downplaying what the revenue will be in the state, and they're also overplaying how much is actually in the bank right now. Republicans also say the governor wants to take money out of the state's rainy day fund, which should never be an option.
In terms of his budget, he wants to take $4.6 billion out of that. Now, if anyone's ever done bond work before, let me tell you something. The moment we start draining that fund completely is the moment we're going to get bond downgrades, we're going to get a negative outlook, we're paying more for our debt, and all of a sudden we have nothing.
And coming up later tonight at 6, you're going to hear Republican response to a claim the governor made earlier today about minimum wage that could ultimately save the Commonwealth $300 million down the line. For now, I'll send it back over to you, Joel D.
All right, thanks a lot, Andrew. We'll talk to you a little bit later on in our show. We'll be here all the way through until 6:30 talking about the different pieces here. Something else I want to bring to your attention from this budget today, and it's a lot of money going towards something very specific. The governor says it's a way to keep Republicans at the federal level in check. He says they need this money. It's congressional funding that goes towards something very specific. Take a listen.
But now is a time when we need to stand together for our Commonwealth and be prepared should they try to take away more of what is owed to us.
it's absolutely a slush fund. It's money that he would have control over for whatever he sees fit. We're not going to give the governor $100 million in a slush fund for him to attack the President of the United States or anybody that he sees fit on any given day.
So the governor has sued the Trump administration 19 times for similar situations like this. He says he's won them all. They were all deserving. And he's calling this a federal response fund, not a slush fund, saying it's necessary if the White House is to keep on doing what it's doing, things like the way they held back some of that SNAP funding. It's not expected to get much Republican support, but wanted to bring that to your attention today. Also this, data centers. How do you handle them? We know that will be a big part of the future here in Pennsylvania, and the governor wanted to get on top of that now before the next one comes to town. For that part of the story, we're now going to head over to Lily Sexton. She's been dealing with this. The governor, of course, has been a part of this. He's got some accountability issues. Lily, what can you tell us?
That's right. Governor Shapiro said he's excited about data centers boosting the economy, but at the same time, he says he hears from the residents who are opposing these projects. So he unveiled a new plan today with the goal of merging innovation with accountability.
I know Pennsylvanians have real concerns about these data centers and the impact they could have on our communities, our utility bills, and our environment. And so do I. So today, I'm announcing GRID, the governor's responsible infrastructure development standards, developed by my administration in consultation with the community to hold data center developers accountable to strict standards if they want our full support.
There are 4 main points to GRID. The first, addressing the price of power. He says under this system, developers must bring their own power generation or pay for the power generation that they need. This is a response to people who have been worried that consumers would see a high electric bill. The second, developers must commit to transparency standards and come up with a development plan with local communities. The third, they need to hire and train local workers. And the last point, commit to the highest standards of environmental protection, especially water conservation. Shapiro says if they meet those points, the data centers could be eligible for tax credits and expedited permits. The GOP responded to the governor's plan, agreeing with some of his points.
We're going to have a conversation about data centers, not only how we handle local communities, not only how they pay their fair share, but the conversation has to be rooted in the fundamentals. The affordability and availability of electricity go hand in hand. The notion that data centers should bring their own supply to the market seems to make a lot of sense.
Shapiro also said he really wants Pennsylvania to take a leading role in AI development and data centers. Back to you.
Lily, thanks for keeping us up on that specific part of this. A lot is in here, 40 pages, tiny little writing, and that means we have our insiders with a lot to get through at 5:30. They are digging into some numbers, and I'm sure they will be debating a lot of this as well. They'll be joining me at 5:30. We hope to see you then. I'm Joel D. Smith at the Capitol. For now, send it back to you in the studio. It is budget day at the Capitol. I'm Joel D. Smith. We are taking you through the $53.2 billion budget proposal from Governor Josh Shapiro. It is an election year. What could that mean politically as he tries to get to the finish line much sooner than he has in the past? With me right now, we have our political insiders. It is Tony Lepore for the Democrats, the Republican side, Mike Regan. They've been through a few of these in the past. Number one with a number this big, I'm going to start with you. The numbers out there, you've looked through this backwards and forwards. Give me some overview, your thoughts on what you saw in here today.
I think what I'm seeing is affordability. I think what the governor is doing is trying to make it affordable for people to live. Housing, electricity, education. I think what he's doing is trying to make our everyday lives affordable.
Okay, but is it affordable for the entire Commonwealth with a price tag of $53.2 billion, 5% more than last year?
Man, that's a lot of money, $3 billion in new spending and potentially raiding the rainy day fund for $5 billion. So it's really, really, really dangerous spending. And I think for Republicans, that's a non-starter. So it's a starting point. We can work it down.
Well, you said it's a starting point and a non-starter, so that's tough to do at the same time. Let's talk about the rainy day fund.
Yeah.
The rainy day fund is supposed to be for what? Let's just back up on this big picture. What do you view the rainy day fund for?
Emergencies.
Yeah.
Emergencies, when something dramatic happens.
Pandemic? I mean,
yeah, that type of thing.
That level of things.
Yes.
And so when they're looking at $4.5 billion from the start, almost like a funding source, what does that mean for the Republicans who want to negotiate somewhere?
Well, that number would have to come down. I mean, I think there's a fair share of Republicans that don't want to touch that at all under any circumstances.
Right.
But I mean, you know what we saw last time around, we got to an agreement around, $50 billion. It's an uptick. Who knows? We'll have to see what happens.
They said that they overturned, I think, the cushions of bureauconscience to shake out
they did find some funds.
Yeah,
they did.
I don't know how many cushions are left around here. I've been looking. I guess the ones behind us. Rainy day fund, using it as on the front side in the budget. Is that a good idea?
It's our money. It's your money. It's your money. It's my money. It's our money. It's the state's money. It's the constituents' money. It should be used for the good of the constituent. If that's for jobs, if that's for lowering our costs, if that's for making our lives better, it's our money.
Well, let's get to this. They said they're bringing in more than they thought. The revenues are up even from last year.
It's already rolling.
It's going okay, but part of his revenue sources that he believes he needs to get to that number are the same ones we talked about last year in this exact same spot. Any chance of marijuana or skill games getting approved this year? What are you hearing?
So I think skills game has a real decent chance. I think
they're calling that $2 billion, by the way.
Yeah, and that might be a little higher than what it probably should be.
Okay.
In fact, a whole lot higher.
So you think skill games has a chance this time around? What are you hearing?
I think marijuana is the one you should go with. Look, all our surrounding states, except for West Virginia, have recreational marijuana laws. Pennsylvanians are going across the border to purchase marijuana from other states, and Pennsylvanians are paying for roads and bridges in New York, in New Jersey, in all these places. We need to get on board with that because it is a legitimate...
But it's mostly Republicans who are not on board with it.
I know, but I think the fact that President Trump has come out with the rescheduling of marijuana, I think that gives them something to hang their hat on. And I think the discussion within the Republican caucus is going to be more valid than it has been in the past.
They're constructing the new budget as we speak, if you've heard that.
It could be billions of dollars.
Well, let me say, Illinois, in their first year, did $1 billion. Very demographically similar to Pennsylvania. Did $1 billion in the first year.
But that first year, a lot of it's licenses, it's one-time spending, right?
Yeah, but the way he's proposing it is really heavy licensing fees, which I think is a non-starter. So I don't think Republicans
They say they're starting work tomorrow on this. That seems so different than last year.
You know what? I think that statement was made at the very beginning of the speech. We're meeting, but then he threw the Republicans under the bus like 10 times during the speech, so I'm not sure if that meeting is going to take place.
What was the toughest thing that you heard from him to Republicans?
Just that, the Catholic school or the Catholic, the religion and all that, he blamed that all on Republicans. And there were some other things I can't recall off the top of my head.
Yeah,
but I know that
limitations, not getting that through again.
Yeah, it was a terse speech. I mean, he delivered it flawlessly, but it was a tersely worded speech, I believe.
Starting sooner, will they actually get done sooner?
I absolutely believe it will be done much sooner, and I think it'll be done on time, Frank.
I think he doesn't need any more controversy. I mean, heading into a re-election and potential presidential run, he doesn't need any controversy.
Education funding, it was that the system where they lost the state decided on the course they had to put more money into the fair funding formula. $500 million more go in. It's almost mandated all the time. So is that something even to debate?
I mean, I think everything. I mean, I think every topic that he spoke about today is up for debate. I mean, Republicans obviously have different views.
Okay. Minimum wage.
Well, I think Republicans were all for maybe a $12 an hour minimum wage. I mean, this affects mostly kids. It doesn't affect people who are eligible for welfare anyway on their own. So in older people it affects. But I think that if we had a better taxing schedule and we had less regulation, we could big businesses like BMW and Airbus and all these big companies are going to other states where people could work for $20, $30, $40, $50 an hour, as opposed to being worried about $15 an hour.
I brought it up to the Republicans because it is a talking point that Democrats have had for years. I can't believe we're at $7.25. Well, if they're not paying that anyway, just bring it up and take away the talking point. But they did reframe it this year, saying, you know what, we could bring people out of Medicaid and we would save money there.
It's a smart move, reframing it, because it's a good way to reframe it. And all you got to do is just look around our states, around the East Coast. Nobody around us is $7.25. Everybody is double.
Let me say one more thing about that. You know, these big businesses that actually nobody is paying minimum wage these days, but those who pay a lower wage, if they feel like they're going to have to pay a wage that they're not paying, they're going to fiercely protect their bottom line, which means automating and kiosks and things like that don't require employees.
Let's find something we might agree on. No phones in schools.
100% agree with that.
Statewide is interesting. They usually do that, you know, district by district. So statewide, that would.
It would take a statewide law for it to happen.
I think there's nobody who would argue that. I don't think.
Look at that. We found something that's going to be easy. But no phones in schools. Everybody except for our actual kids. We'll appreciate that one. All right, let's appreciate you guys. I want to get to one of the topics we didn't talk about yet, the data centers. All right, so the data centers are kind of an interesting topic right here because we know it's the future, and we know it's going to take a lot of energy to actually do that. So let's talk to Lily Sexton. She's been following this one in particular today. Lily, to take us through the biggest points that you heard as part of the budget and what it would mean.
Right, Shapiro was saying that he is excited for data centers to come into the state, but at the same time he hears, because there has been a lot of people saying that they're nervous about the environmental effects that it could have. And he was saying with this new plan that he unveiled today that he's trying to merge innovation with accountability as data centers move in.